We've all seen them, the panoramic shots. Your gran usually has one on the wall outside the bathroom for some reason, and it's usually the town that you're living in or the town she grew up in. In this video, I'm going to show you how I took a panoramic shot from Greening Castle all the way down to Ayr Harbour using a long range lens and stitching them together in Lightroom. No Photoshop, no technical expertise needed, just simply holding shift, selecting photos and clicking a couple of buttons. So I'm going to hand over to the GoPro and you can see it from beginning to end. Okay, so I'm going to follow the tips that we laid out in the first video, but I'm sure I covered that in the intro. If you want to check that video out before you watch this one, it might make more sense. So the first tip was tripod. There's some really nice pastel colours in the sky going on right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch together some shots on Lightroom to create a panoramic photo. What's the best balance here? I'll maybe go for an F8. Yeah, that's good. Check the histogram. Kind of in the middle. We'll start shooting. Can't always trust what's on your LCD screen, so try and go by the histogram. If you have the function button, say 2-second timer. Just slide it along, focus, takes the dogs out of the frame. Slide it along, focus, 2-second timer, slide it along, we're getting flats at Citadel in, some nice waves. Now the waves might not be able to stitch together actually come to think of it, but we'll try our best. And while we're here on the tripod, let's get some B-roll for the video. So my tripod is currently sinking in the sand, and that's one thing. If you've been at the beach, definitely give it a rinse with some warm water. Otherwise your tripod is just going to go rot with salt water. So before we jump into the image stitching, I just want to show you a couple of the images that I took before. So we had this one, there was a guy kicking about the beach, picking up rocks. He had a bright yellow North Face jacket on, sort of blended in with the warm sand and the tones of the sky above it. And there's a sort of halo around him, backlit, which I really liked. There's also another guy on the beach with a Fuji, funnily enough, so I chatted to him for a while. And here he is, taking a photo of Greening Castle. Trying to move in my territory, alright. Tried a few panning shots as well, obviously forgetting that I was there to make a panorama. Left my camera on burst mode, so you'll see about 10 photos of the castle at the start. We all make mistakes. And then we'll get to it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to show you all the photos I'm going to use, and I'm going to star them all 1 so I can easily identify these 4 or 5 images are the ones I'm going to use. So if you highlight them all, hold shift, right click, go to photo merge, panorama. It'll bring up your default settings. You've got HDR panorama, just ignore that for now. It might take a while to load while it's stitching it all together, but if you followed the steps in the video, it should be relatively straightforward, and it'll give you a sort of preview of what the image will look like. So I'm happy with everything there. I'm going to click merge. Now you'll see in Lightroom, next to your starred images, it's going to create a new one to the right. Now obviously this image, unless you're doing one of these sliding photos on Instagram, it's not really going to be useful for social media. It's mainly for prints. So I can't remember what I did because I'm doing a voiceover. I'm hoping I show the image. Come on, Daryl. Yes, there we go. So the image may take a lot longer to render than your usual images on Lightroom. So when I ended up exporting this image, because you're recording all the data of a normal photograph with your long range lens, and you're now combining it with another 4 photographs, it's got all that data packed into one. So you can get some pretty epic landscape shots, but just be wary of file size and the strain that's going to have on your computer when processing it. So this image actually ended up being 35 megabytes compared to the guy in the yellow North Face jacket, which is about 4 megabytes. So basically what I'm doing now is just inspecting the water, and I'll be honest, I don't really know how they did it, but they merged the water and the waves and I genuinely couldn't tell. I don't know if you were looking at the photo when it was zooming in there, but I couldn't tell that these photos were merged. It just looks like the sea. You couldn't tell they were separate photos, and I think the software has come on leaps and bounds in recent years and did a fantastic job. So all I'm doing now is trying to recreate the pastel colours and the sort of violets and purples that I saw when I was there. So to wrap up, basically, if you're taking a panoramic shot, what you want to do is set yourself up on a tripod, pick your shots, make sure your tripod is steady, and slide along either the vertical or horizontal axis. You can use the vertical axis for things like waterfalls, and it can be really cool. If you want the photo to be even sharper for prints, you don't need to move as much as I did when I was sliding along for the horizontal shots. You can slide along bit by bit, even a couple of inches at a time. Your file size is going to be huge, but it's going to be a beautiful print with so much data packed in, so many megapixels, so much to play with. But for the purposes of today's video, I kind of take it easy. But yeah, you can see, look at the sea. I mean, I can't see the join at all. It's fantastic. Basically, in terms of editing now, what I did was I got the brush tool out and I kind of went over all the buildings on the horizon and just sort of made them pop. So okay, I'm going to skip this, but all I did basically was highlight all the relevant buildings that you're kind of looking into. If it was up in the wall, you're like, oh, is that my pal's flat? Is that where I got my first winch? Is that where me and Bobby played Monopoly for the first time? Is that where I lost my shoe? Is that where I lost my other shoe? So what I was doing is just taking the exposure up, taking the highlights up, the whites, increasing the sharpness, and I also did that with like green and castle and stuff, just basically whatever your eye is going to be drawn to, just making sure it kind of pops and stands out. There we go, I've kind of skipped to it. You'll see the final adjustments I'm making. I'm zooming in on a seagull there, obviously very important to do. It wouldn't be air without a seagull. So thank you very much for watching. If you could please like the video, subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you know when we upload. I'm just going to let you see the final product now. Hope you enjoy it.